Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the opposition has a responsibility to speak and a responsibility to make its voice collectively and individually heard. Mr. Speaker, you would believe that where we are in this country today, that the government would not be that self-righteous, would not be that manipulative. You would think that the government would say, we have a crisis. Mr. Speaker, let me tell you, as we discuss changing the testing requirements from 7 to 5 days, let me tell you the situation of COVID in the region. In the ECCU region, there are 3,953 confirmed cases of COVID. In St. Lucia, and my source is the ECCB report, 2,027 out of 3,955 in the region. And deaths at that time was 19. I understand now it's got up to 22. But the government wants us to say nothing. The government believes that we must say nothing and pretend as if we are the ones who are in control of the management of COVID. The Prime Minister, a few minutes ago, even went as far as to imagine what would happen if we were in control of COVID. What kind of leadership is that, Mr. Speaker? He is imagining, Mr. Speaker, the same Prime Minister who led a march for $6.53 for gas and came and returned here and said the march was superfluous. But you hear them speak and they're self-righteous. They are the best in the world. They do nothing bad. You guys are wicked. What you guys are doing, we are so good. We love you. We do everything for you. And they want to cry. That is how they pretend, Mr. Speaker. But Mr. Speaker, we will not be quieted. The opposition will not be quiet. They try all kinds of things. They are vindictive. They victimize. They take government resources and use in opposition constituencies, and they have the audacity to take pictures, and they say it comes from ministries of government, and they give it to private citizens to distribute, all to make the opposition look bad. And they come, Mr. Speaker, and they become the Prime Minister is self-righteous. He does nothing wrong. He is, Mr. Speaker, I'm speaking about reducing the time for the COVID test. These self-righteous pronouncements, Mr. Speaker, self-righteous, oh Lord, I pray before I start. That level of self-righteousness, and the reality is completely different, Mr. Speaker. And that is what the people of St. Lucia feel. That's what the people of St. Lucia feel. And that is why I made a point previously, it's a matter of trust. So all these attacks, all these self-righteous proclamations, the people of St. Lucia understand. So we, Mr. Speaker, we are going to speak. We're going to continue to tell people to follow the protocols. We're going to tell people to listen to the science and follow the guidance of the professionals. We are going to tell people that COVID was not created by the government. So we will not be stopped. And I can tell you, Mr. Speaker, the opposition will continue to call the government to account. The opposition will call on the government to deal with the realities of the COVID situation, not what's in their mind, the realities of the situation. The realities are, it is possible, very possible, that based on the tests that have been taken, over 20% of people in this country may, based on the tests, may be positive for COVID. So no amount of attacking, no amount of self-righteous, no amount of beating of the breast can stop that. And we will continue, Mr. Speaker, we'll continue to make it known And in spite and despite of what they say, of what they do, if they continue to marginalize constituencies, if they continue to do all kinds of things, Mr. Speaker, the reality is COVID, and I dare to tell you, Mr. Speaker, when one of our relatives will die because of COVID, then the reality will hit us. So that's not a time to come to this honorable house and try to score points. If serious leadership means that we would say to each other, we have a problem. We have a problem. You have your side, I have my side. But we have a problem. And the problem is COVID is a serious pandemic. So let us bring the collective wisdom of our minds together and try to solve the problem. Not try to... Wait, Mr. Speaker, I'll tell you something. I want to inform this honorable house that politics is a strange thing. Very strange thing. I have been a victim of the vagaries of politics. I have been in government and I've been in opposition. I understand both of them. I warn them, Mr. Speaker, never be so boastful and so assured of yourself when you're in politics, because your fate depends on the people. So I want to warn them. They are high and mighty, self-righteous, boasting. The time will come, Mr. Speaker, when the politics will change and the reality will hit. So, Mr. Speaker, I say to the government that there are many countries in the world who have given a 3-day window for getting a negative viral test. Many countries in the world. And I say a viral test because I want to be sure of what I see. So when you speak about the 3-day time span, we're not speaking from just saying things because we want to oppose. There are many countries in the world, Mr. Speaker. And I took the liberty, Mr. Speaker, to get the information from the IATA, the International Air Travel Association, the COVID-19 travel regulations map, and inform this honorable house that there are countries in the world where there's a 3-day window for getting a negative viral test. Note I said the word viral, a viral test, and these countries as follows, Mr. Speaker, many of them: European Union, United Kingdom, United States, Dominican Republic, St. Kitts and Nevis, Brazil, Colombia, Grenada, Dominica, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Venezuela, Peru, Bolivia, Paraguay, South Africa, Botswana, Russia, Argentina, Uruguay, Chile, Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, Honduras, El Salvador, Turkey, Iraq, that have a 3-day negative viral test to land into the country.
Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for
I just understand on a point of elucidation, if the member will yield.
The what?
Point of elucidation.
What?
Honourable Member is asking you whether you will yield to allow him to make a short contribution.
Mr. Speaker, I can use him anytime.
Okay. Honourable Member, you may proceed.
Mr. Speaker, through you, I want to understand whether the member is speaking against the bill or in favor of the bill. Because the bill is proposing 5 days and he is highlighting the 3 days. And I'm a bit confused about what he is saying. So I'm just asking for clarification on your position on the bill being presented.
Honourable Member Castries Ace. Proceed, sir. You heard the question, so you may choose.
And I choose not to answer. Mr. Speaker, you see, when we are talking about serious issues, you see, Mr. Speaker, they do not feel the pain that the people of the constituency feel. They don't feel it, Mr. Speaker. The pain that we feel. the pain. When they get self-righteous and they boast, they don't understand the pain that people feel. They don't understand, Mr. Speaker. They don't understand it. They don't understand, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm calling on the government to have a heart, to understand that even if you believe you are doing your best, sometimes your best is not good enough because of the circumstances. So you may feel that you're doing the best, but people are still in pain. And don't blame the opposition for people being in pain. We're not the cause of people being in pain. You may be not the cause of the pandemic, but we are saying to you that there are different ways in which you can do it to ease the pain of the people of the country. So when you return to situations where free foreigners came to lead the police force, because, I mean, where is that? I expect that, Mr. Speaker, from other members, not from the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister ought to set the example. The Prime Minister ought to come on this podium and take himself away from the rough and the tumble police chief, leadership, Labour Party. The Prime Minister has a sacred duty to lead the country. The Prime Minister has a sacred duty to fight against victimization and vindictiveness. The Prime Minister has a sacred duty to be above the fray. That's what he has to do. The Prime Minister is not supposed to be joining in this bacchanal and this going back in the past and trying to score chief political points. The Prime Minister ought to be above that. And I sat there in amazement and I looked at the Prime Minister and I see how can a Prime Minister who is presiding over a country where that COVID situation is real, how can he go into the nitty-gritty of the politics? How can he do it? How can the Prime Minister go into this kind of boycott parliament? I mean, allow that phenomenon for Cash's office. Let him get involved in that. That's where he's supposed to be. Not the Prime Minister. Allow the members to get involved in these kind of things. Not you. You're the Prime Minister. You have a sacred duty. You must set the example. So I'm saying to the Prime Minister that the situation in our country is dire. And whether he likes it or not, we're in a crisis. And whether he thinks he's doing his best or he hasn't done his best, 22 people have died. And when you speak about ventilators, I could not believe, Mr. Speaker, that the government would make an issue because I said that there are 10 ventilators there are 10 donated ventilators remaining in boxes, and make the point that it's because St. Lucia is doing so well, the ventilators are in boxes. Mr. Speaker, I mean, do you really think that is an argument that, Mr. Speaker, I see you watching the time. You think that is really an argument that you can bring in a debate about the ventilators in boxes because you're doing so well? Mr. Speaker, you have to be ready. The fact is that there are 10 ventilators. So what you must say, if you want to tell to the country the reason why the ventilators are in the boxes because of X, Y, and Z, we'll understand that. We'll understand that. But the fact is, there are 10 ventilators in boxes. That's a fact. Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm saying to you that I expect the knowledge.
Mr. Speaker, I rise in a point of order.
Honorable member.
Yes.
What's the point
Mr. Speaker, the point of order is that the member for Castries East is grossly misleading the House. He gives the impression that all of the ventilators are in boxes. We have ordered some 24 ventilators. There are 14 ventilators which have already been set up, and so therefore there are 10 in the boxes that we don't need. And that is because, Mr. Speaker, we've had very few ICU cases or very terrible COVID cases. And so, Mr. Speaker, we have a trickle here and there. So based on the need of ventilators, we have not had the need to set up all 24. So don't give the impression that all the ventilators are in boxes.
Mr. Speaker, there are 10 ventilators in boxes. Mr. Speaker, the point I'm making to you, Mr. Speaker, is that in the time of crisis, Mr. Speaker, we must not take these situations and take them as a joke, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm saying to you that while the country may be in a situation...
Honorable members, we have to, honorable members, I know that the time, the atmosphere, the curfew and everything is... Let's get back to some sort of normalcy so that we could end on top of the hour. Continuable member.
Mr. Speaker, I will end here, Mr. Speaker. I will end here because, Mr. Speaker, I understand, Mr. Speaker, the seriousness of the situation. I understand, Mr. Speaker, that even if the government believes that it is doing its best, they must strive to do better because we are in a crisis situation. There's a pandemic and the government didn't cause the pandemic. But fortunately or unfortunately, the government is called upon to manage it and they must take the responsibility of the actions that they take to cure the pandemic. Mr. Speaker, I end by saying to the public of St. Lucia, obey the protocols. I end by saying to the public of St. Lucia that the situation is real. I end by thanking the police and say to them, their job is difficult, but they must always exercise restraint. Because we don't understand. And I think in all these conversations, Mr. Speaker, I probably had with the Prime Minister. I said to him that this curfew, this locking up people, is not an easy thing for people, Mr. Speaker. But we are privileged, you understand? We are privileged because you can stay at your home and you can go upstairs, go downstairs. But, Mr. Speaker, we must have a heart for the people who are locked up from 7 o'clock, Mr. Speaker. They're locked up. So you cannot, so I want to ask the police to exercise some restraint, Mr. Speaker. So they're doing a good job. But understand the plight of these people. I'm saying to these people, they themselves to understand that it is for their own benefit. It is for their own benefit, Mr. Speaker. And finally, I am saying, Mr. Speaker, that
honorable members.
Mr. Speaker, that is, Mr. Speaker, have you noticed that I'm not taking them on? I have pledged that while I'm in this honorable house, I will not take them on. So they can talk, they can shout, they can heckle. I will have my say on behalf of the people of St. Lucia. So that is useless and that does nothing to me. Before I thought that it was to be jocular and to exchange was something that I could benefit from. But I've realized now that these guys are arrogant.
Honorable member, take the word back. These guys.
Thank you. These honorable members, and I withdraw. These honorable members are arrogant. They are unrepentant. They don't understand the plight of the people of St. Lucia. So I will leave them in their tower until the people decide. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.